the research, and also a co-founder. He will take about 1 hour and 10 minutes for his presentation. The second facilitator is Dr. Ibrahim Osman Adam. He's a senior lecturer at University for Development Studies and the founder for ICT4D Research. He will also take about 40 minutes for his presentation. So whilst the presentation is ongoing, you can type in your questions in the comment section and we'll make sure to address them. You can also join us live and follow us on Facebook and Twitter. And please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. So with this note, I'm happy to hand over to the first presenter, who is Mr. Mudarso Issa, who will give us an insight of introduction to web development. And I hope you enjoy this presentation and learn a lot from it. Thank you. So over to Mr. Mudarso Issa.
Thank you very much, Adiata Seni. Once again, I want to say good morning to everyone who has made time to join us for this very important seminar. So I'm going to proceed to share my slide, then we will start. So just give me a moment. Okay, so kindly confirm whether my slide is currently visible or not.
Yes, it's visible, but it's not in slide mode yet.
Okay. Yeah, how about now?
Yeah, that's perfect.
Okay, thank you very much. Today we are going to be looking at introduction to web development. And considering that everyone here is more or less very new to the area web development, so I'm going to take everything from the basic minimum level. My presentation is going to be structured in this way. I would first of all give you the history of the internet, and after that we'll look at what are the building blocks of web development, what constitutes web development. So we'll go through certain key terms, then we look at the coding languages that is used to build websites. Then from there I will stop my presentation, then we will go into coding. Okay, yeah, so we cannot understand or learn web development without knowing exactly how the internet works, and let's say in summary the history of the internet. So if you read the history of the internet, how it came about, it's very clear that it's impossible to credit the invention of the internet to one single person. That would mean that it was as a result of contributions of several people in the past, several scientists, developers, engineers, and what have you. A lot of scholars have written about the internet way several years ago in the form of theory in books and what have you. But then in the late 1960s, we had the first working prototype of the implementation of the ideas or the theoretical ideas that forms the internet today. So this was as a result of the creation of the ARPANET, an organization that was formed by the US Department of Defense. And basically they try to link a computer, one computer from their central office and the other computer that was in Stanford. They tried to send a message to see whether it will go using the the concepts that backs the internet today. So lo and behold, the first test was let me say successful, but though they sent a word login, but then only the LO, the first two that went, the rest wasn't seen on the other side of the computer. So, but then this didn't stop there. Several efforts was being kept in order to be able to facilitate the communication between computers, across the country. Then this moved on to continents, and today we have what we call the internet. So that's that for the internet. Now we want to look at two key terms when it comes to web development, which is domain and hosting. Now, what is a domain? Basically, a domain is more or less like an address, and pretty much everybody here uses a domain one way or the other. So I've just stated a few examples here for you to have a picture of what a domain means. So something like facebook.com, google.com, Center for ICT4D.org. These are all domains, okay? And these domains are unique for everybody, every organization that owns a website online. So it's a unique identifier for whoever owns a website online. So before you get your website online accessible by everybody, you will need to what? Purchase a domain. Now the second term, which is hosting, hosting basically represents storage or service. So when you hear hosting, you should be thinking in this direction: storage, where we store the files. When you visit websites, it's a combination of content. You have text, you have videos, you have pictures. Where are all these videos, pictures that you see on the website? Where are they stored in? So the hosting, they are stored in what? A place or devices called servers. So the hosting basically talks about the server. So to get your website online, you need these two things: your domain, your hosting. Now, just to give you a visual understanding of servers, I have brought in these two pictures here. One picture is the one on the right hand side. You can see all these devices that you see in this picture. These are servers, very giant computers that are situated in a room. So all the content of the websites are being stored in this particular devices called servers. So there are several server rooms across the country. Facebook have their data centers that contains all their servers. Google has one, and so many other companies. Now let's move to this image here on my left. You can see this image probably clearly. This is they are on a sea, okay, and then there's a wire that drips down. Yeah, so the internet is powered by these cables, fiber optic cables. Okay, it's called the internet backbone. So these cables links one continent to the other. If you look at the globe, after this class, you can take a look at it. You will see that what divides each continent from the other. If you look at it, you see that there are seas or water, around it. So these giant cables are being passed through from one sea to the other, connecting one continent to the other continent. So this is what constitutes the internet and the servers as well. Thank you. Now at this point, we would proceed. Please, moderator, let me know at a point if you cannot hear me or if there's any issue, so that I don't keep talking whilst no one is hearing. Now, after we've looked at the internet, the history, and the two key concepts about websites, now let's talk about, to build a website, what do you need to know? What do you need to learn? Or what are the tools that you can use to build a website? So to build a website, you will need to learn and understand the following programming languages, that is HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Yes. So our session today is going to be focused on HTML and CSS, and also just a slight introduction about JavaScript as well, provided we have time. And then we will also build a demo website about ourselves. All right. Okay. Now, let's look at the key programming languages one after the other. I mentioned HTML. So what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Okay, yes, it's a language that was designed to be used to what? To build websites, to write codes that the browsers can understand. So, and it's probably the first web language that was being developed. You know, when the internet was being established successfully, now the idea came that, okay, let's design a language that when we can use it to what? To communicate, you know, to write information that will be displayed on people's browsers. So that's how come HTML came into being. Okay, so to write HTML code, these are the softwares that you need: Sublime Text, Visual Studio Code, and Note++. Yeah, so as beginners, the most recommended software to write HTML code is Sublime Text, which I will recommend, and that's what we will use for the training. Now, let's look at CSS. What does CSS stands for? CSS simply means, it stands for Cascading Style Sheet. That's the abbreviation. And basically it's used to what? To decorate your site, you know, just to bring in some styles, some colors into your site. Yeah, so you can also use Sublime Text to write CSS code. Finally, let's look at what is JavaScript. JavaScript also is a client-side web programming language, and it's mainly used for interactivity. You can see this particular animated image somewhere on the right-hand side.
I think we are having a little challenge with Mr. Modernis's network. So please hold on and let him get back to us.
Is the programming language you can.
We are sorry for the inconvenience, but Mr. Modernis's is trying to get back to us. He's facing a little bit of challenge with his network. So please stay tuned and he'll be back soon. Thank you.
Hi. Hello, moderator, can you hear me?
Yes. We can hear you.
Sorry, I think I broke the point, right?
Yes, please.
Sorry for that. So I'm going to continue from where I stopped. Is that okay? Is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
All right. Okay, so I was saying that at this, I don't know, at what point did I cut off? I think I had spoken about JavaScript, right?
Yes, you spoke about JavaScript.
Okay, so at this point, I want to pause my slide. Then we look at how do you get these softwares. How do we get these softwares that I spoke about? You know, what's the beginning point? How do you get the software so that you can also start practicing how to build the website? All right. So let me share the whole of my screen now. Okay, I guess my screen is visible, right?
Yes, it's visible.
Okay, so first of all, I stated that to start building your website, you will need a tool or a software. And one of the recommended software is Sublime Text. So to get Sublime Text on your PC, you have to go to Google and then you type Sublime Text like I'm doing now. So when you see the results that comes, just click on download and you will see that Sublime Text will highlight. You see all these are different versions for different operating systems. We have the OS X for those using the Apple Mac computers. We have the Windows, and then we have Windows 64-bit. This Windows 64-bit has been boldened because my current system is Windows 64-bit. So by default, your current system will be boldened. Then you will click on what? Just click on it. You know, so now I've clicked on it and there's a pop-up for me to start downloading. Well, in your case, you may see the downloading option down here or somewhere on top here. It depends on what software you have for downloading. So that's it for downloading. If you wait for it to fully download, then you can proceed to what? Install it. Let me go to my programs list here. Yeah, so this is what you get when you try to download it. So it will probably be in your downloads folder. Just double click on it and then you follow the prompt. Just next and install till it completes. I already have it, so I wouldn't want to reinstall it again. But just next, install, and then you are good to go. Nothing much. So since we are okay with the download process, I will now proceed to open my Sublime Text. So to open Sublime Text, basically, just come to your search bar here, and then you search for Sublime Text. Yeah. Okay, so there you go. It is opened like this. Now, before you start coding, or before I start, I want to caution all those currently online watching that if you are with us right now, do not code whilst I'm coding, because this is an online seminar. You might miss out some steps. So I will encourage that you just focus and then learn, and then try to jot down some questions that you can ask me so that I'll clarify. Then after the training, you can rewatch this particular session and then you practice what I've coded in here. Now, one recommendation too is that to begin coding a website, you have to what? Spend some time to create a separate folder on your desktop. So in my case, I'm going to create a folder by right-clicking my desktop, going to new and saying what? Folder. So here I will say maybe my new site, or just say about portfolio site, portfolio site. So this can be any name. Okay, this can be my first website and what have you. So I have named it portfolio, right? So now, after doing that, the next thing is to what? Is to open that folder inside your Sublime Text so that you can start working right here. So go to File, Open Folder, and then you navigate to desktop where the folder is. Then I'll search for, this is the folder I created. It could be a different name based on what you selected. then you come to what, select folder. So I have my folder here. So now you can right click on this folder and create your first HTML file. Before you start coding, you have to create a file where you what, put your codes, where you write your HTML code in. So I'm going to proceed to do that. I'll right click and say new file. You can see it says untitled. I'm going to press Ctrl S to save, or I'll go to file and say what, save. Now, mind you, this file is going to be saved inside the portfolio folder I had created. So I'm going to name it index.html. Index.html, you know, because we are going to write an HTML code for the browser to read, your extension should be .html. And the index here simply is a name of the file. So I'll save. All right. So now when I save, to begin writing our HTML code, we need to, there's a kind of a template, you know, that every HTML document or every website has to take. So I'm going to just do that. When I start typing HT less than HT, you see this suggestion comes. I'll just click on it. And so when I click on it, it will write these few lines of codes for me. Now, let me just take a while to explain a few things about this. The key important things are one, the title here. The title here stands for your what your website represents. So I'm going to put in something here, my portfolio, and then I'll save. Right. Okay. Let's look inside our portfolio document. You'll see that the file that we created is here. So if I double click it, it's going to open in the browser. Now take note of this that is written here. You see my portfolio is written here. So this corresponds to the codes, the information I wrote in between the title tag here. So basically in HTML, these tags are used to what, hold content. They are just like containers where you can put your content. So in this case, this title tag, the information I put in between here is what will be displayed on top here, just right on top here. Good. Now you see that the content here is blank because I have not written any codes. I have not written anything to be displayed here. So how do you get information to be displayed right here? Let's look at that. So you'll see that we have a body tag which has an opening and a closing. Whatever that we want to be displayed on our site, we put it in between here. Yes, so now we are going to begin to learn a few tags that we can use to what? Show content on our website. The first tag we are going to learn is the H1 tag. So the H1 tag is written like this. You have the less than, then you write H1, then you have the greater than sign, you put it there. Then you have the less than sign with a slash, and then an H1, and then what? A less than sign. So now in between these two for the H1, this is where I'll put my content. H1 tag is used to display a bold title, a very visible bold title. So for example, I'm going to just write a name of what? The portfolio site. So I'm going to write something. Let me say, hi, I am a title. Let's see. Hi, I am a title. So when you do this, let's come and refresh our page here. Remember, this page was opened from the folder we created. I opened it. If you don't see Google Chrome symbol, or you are struggling to open it, right click on the document and say open with, then you select a browser from this list. So I'm refreshing. So when I refresh, you see hi, I am a title written in the what? The page area with what? Bold styling, very bold and huge. So that is H1 for you, used for what? Titles. Now the H1, we have H2 as well. we have H2 as well, which is basically the difference between H1, H2. We have H1, H2 all the way to H6. And the difference between them is basically how it's going to be displayed. So I've just created an H2 down here. Let me refresh and then you'll see. You see that the H2 here is much lesser in height and width than the what? The H1's own. So basically, as you use the H tags all the way to H6, basically it's going to display like small or big, small, smaller, smallest, or big, 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 all the way to the smallest possible one. Yes. So let me just go to H6 and let's see how H6 is going to be like. So I'll say, I'll put my content here. Hi, I am H6. Save. And then I'll refresh. You can see how H6 look like. It's still bold, but it's very less in terms of the size, right? Good. So that's that for these H tags. We also have another tag called the P tag. The P tag basically is used for paragraphs, like several sentences of information. Maybe you want to write about yourself or you want to write about something. This P tag represents in real life what we consider as what paragraphs. Okay, yes. So now I will just want to go and copy some content which I want us to, because I don't want us to spend so much time copying, writing and typing. So I've just copied some content, paragraph content. I'll just paste it in between the opening and closing of the P tag. Good. So let's see how this will be displayed on the front page here. Now, when I refresh, you see that, and you see that this particular text actually displays so nicely like a paragraph tag, right? Yes, you can see it here. So that's a P tag for you. And in writing your code, you can have more than one P tag. So I can have several P tags here. I can have several P tags, about 4 of them. I'm just copying and pasting. So when I save, you should see all the P tags that all the paragraph tags that I've used. You can see them on the website. Remember, once again, this particular page we are viewing is just the file we created and where we are writing the codes. So these codes that we are writing is what we are currently seeing in front here. Okay. So let's look at another tag called the let's look at another tag that is used to list items. Let's say we want to list items. I want to list my hobbies. Obviously, I want to just display my hobbies to those who visit my site. So to do that, we have 2 types of hobbies. We have we have 2 types of lists. We have the ordered list and the unordered list. The difference is that the ordered list is numbered and the unordered list is bulleted. So let's start with the ordered list. To do that, we have a tag called OL. Okay, you will have to write it in terms of what? The opening and the closing, like this. Right, OL. Then inside this OL tells the browser that the list items that I want to list are what? Ordered list, meaning they should be numbered. So for every list item, I will wrap it. You will have to wrap it inside what? A tag called the LI tag. So first of all, let me put a heading, an H1 tag here, called with the text my hobbies, my hobbies, like this. And then for everything, I'll say gaming. So I'm just copying and pasting and changing the content. So I'll say coding, then traveling. You see, so for every list, you just have to put it inside the LI tag, like I've done here. So let's save this document. Control S will save. or if you don't like shortcuts, just go to File and Save. Then refresh our page again. Now you can see our H1 tag and then the list. The list has been numbered 1, 2, 3. So any other list I'll add, it will be numbered in the order in which it's supposed to be. So that is it for ordered list. So let's say we want to do an unordered list, and the unordered list is what we call the bulleted list. So I have to also say, I have to wrap it inside a tag called the UL tag, okay? Then inside the UL tag, I can now have my LI tag. That's what, to represent the list. So I'm going to have probably a different list, maybe a list of foods, Banku. So I just copy, paste, since it's the same thing, but the content that will change. So, yeah. Okay. Hello. Yeah, hi. No, what is not? Yeah. Thank you. Welcome. So I'm just continuing. Sorry for the interruption. Is it? Yeah, so let's have a look at how this displays. Now you can see that down here, the list has been listed, but they are what? Bulleted. So that's the difference between the OL tag and then the what? UL tag. Now the next tag we'll be looking at is the image tag. This tag is used to bring in an image. Let's say you want to display an image into your browser. Now, there are just a few rules you have to understand about this IMG tag. If you write the IMG tag like this particular IMG tag doesn't have a closing tag like the others that have opening and then closing. This particular IMG tag doesn't have a closing, so it's supposed to just be like this. But then you have to introduce an attribute called SRC. So you say SRC is equals to what? Quotation marks. Now, in between these quotation marks, you are going to what? Write the name or the path of your image. I always advise that if you want to bring in an image to your site, make sure you put the image inside the folder that you created to work with. So I'm going to bring in an image inside this folder. You know, this folder has only one file, which we created, and there's no image in there. I'm going to bring in an image from somewhere in my PC. So I'm going to pick this kind of picture, and then I'm going to desktop. Then I'll look for portfolio, the folder that I created, portfolio, and then I'll do Control-V to paste, or I'll just right click and paste it. Now you can see we have my pic.jpg, so that's an image. Now also in your text editor, you will see that it is displaying, showing that you have added an image. So simply put in between the code, just put the path to your picture. I'll say my pic.jpg. The .jpg is the extension of the picture. So your picture can be JPEG, it can be PNG, it can be JPG, it can be anything else. So make sure you add the extension. Okay. So now, as usual, we want to see how our image displays. So there you go. This is the picture we have used here. You can see the picture here. Yes. So now one thing one thing that is obvious is that this picture is way bigger, right? Yes, that shouldn't be a problem. There's a way to do that. So we can just reduce the height and the width of the image by writing what? Width, and then specifying a width. So I'm going to say 200 pixels. 200 pixels is how the width I want. Yours can be 500 pixels, 1000 pixels. You know, you just try the sizes and see what will display the way you want. So the width, and I can introduce a height, and I'll give it a height of what? 250 pixels, like this. Then let's refresh and see. You can see that our image has been trimmed based on the width and the height I've specified. I am also going to bring in another image. So to bring another image, I have to bring in that image into my file. So let's see something. I have this image. I'm bringing it into my portfolio folder. So basically, I can copy this whole line of code, and then I can paste it here. Then I'll just change the what? The source, the SRC. So I'm going to say team.gpeg. You can see that this particular file picture has the extension gpeg. GPEG. So you can see, as I was stating earlier, that you have to make sure you get the extension right. So I'm going to just go back to our website and then refresh for you to see. Yeah, so you can see the picture is also displayed here based on the constraints that I had provided earlier. Good. Okay, so we have done quite a lot of tags. We have done the H1 tag or the H tags. We have done the list tags. We have done the image tags. We have done the paragraph tags and how it works. One tag that I want to talk about also is the anchor tag. So let's say the anchor tag is used to what? Link to a website. If you want something to be clickable, then you use the anchor tag. So the anchor tag, how is it written? You have your less than sign, then your A, then your greater than sign, then you have to close it. For this tag, it has a what? A closing. So now, whatever text that you want to be here, maybe you want to show a read more, you want to say read more. But then this read more, when it's displayed on the browser, the one who is visiting your site or watching your site should be able to click on it, right? So you put the read more, then in between the A tag here, you just create a space and then you come and write href is equals to what? Quotes. In between this href is equals to quotes, you put the link where you want the person to go. When the person clicks on the read more, where do you want the person to be taken to? That is what you have to put in here. So let's say this read more, I want to send people to Center for ICT for this website. So I'll say Center for ICT for the .org, like this. Let's see how this shows up on our website. I'm going to refresh. So always, don't forget to always what? Refresh. Yeah, so you can see the read more is here. You can see the read more is showing down here. So if I click on this read more, you see that there's a symbol of a hand. When I click on it, it's going to just load the link that I kept. So you can see it has just loaded the Center for ICT for D websites. You see that? So to go back to our code, I'll just click on back and then I'm back to our code. The difference between this anchor tag text and any other normal text you see here is because this one has what? A click functionality. When you bring your cursor on this one, you don't see the hand symbol. It's not clickable, but when you bring the cursor here, it's clickable. So that is the work of an anchor tag. So back to our code. So basically, this is the anchor tag. This is how it is written. This read more can be anything. This read more can be visit my website. It can be anything, you know. And the hrefs value, which is in between the quotes, can also be any website or anywhere you want the person to be what? Redirected to when they click on the text. All right, so basically you have seen that we are able to write some codes that the browser or any browser in the world can be able to what? translate these codes into some information and display it for people who will visit our website, right? Yes. So with this little knowledge that we have, we can proceed to look at CSS. Okay, we can look at CSS, how to maybe do some styling. And we also look at what websites we can build. I want to just show you a simple website that I put in place just for the purpose of demonstrating or you practicing the knowledge you have learned. So this is what I think you can build. You can see all this text from now. Something like this, you know, is an H1 tag. Something like this, looking at how is this, it is a P tag, a paragraph tag. And this is also a list, okay? Just that it's not, it's displayed in a different format, you know, inline, but then it's also a list. Then you have an image in the background here with a text. Then you come down here, you have title and H1, and then a summary text. You see, so basically these are all the tags that the same tags that we've talked about is the same thing we are using here. So we are going to transport that knowledge that we've done to be able to create this site. So first of all, let's go back to our Sublime text. I want to see how much minutes I've used. Okay. Let's go back to our Sublime text here. And we are going to create a new file. If you right click and say new file, you have a new file here. Control S, then I would name the file portfolio .htm. So that's the name for the file. Good. Now we are going to write some code trying to mimic this particular website that we built here. So about website. And as you know, the body tag here contains everything that we want to be displayed in the content, right? Yes. So let's begin by saying that we want an H1 tag, and this H1 tag will have this information here. So I'll just copy and paste so that I won't spend much time typing. So we have a paragraph tag as well. I'll put the content here. We'll copy. And we'll paste. Then, as I was saying, this particular aspect is a what? A list. So I'm going to do a list. I'm going to do a list like this. But then this stands for a list. I have to specify whether I want an unordered list or an ordered list. So I'm using what? An ordered list. Then in there, I have each list. So I'll have home. I'll just copy it and paste and change my contents. Home bio. Educational history. What do we have? Oh, publications and contact me. So publications. And then what? Contact me. All right. So then the next thing is this particular section that you have here. So you see the image we have here is a background image. It's not an image that is fully visible at the forefront, but we have this text. That is here. So this is a heading, and this is a paragraph. So I'm going to proceed to do that. So after my OL tag, and I'll name it. I'll just
we are sorry. I think Mr. Mudassir has another challenge, and he's still working on getting back to us. But for the meantime, if you have any questions, you can put them in the comment section and we will address it whilst waiting
okay. So I'm
for
back.
Russell to come
I'm
back.
back.
Okay, welcome back.
Thank you. So I'm continuing from the paragraph I stopped with. Yeah, so I'm just going to, for the sake of time, I'll do this section, and then this sections, I'll do this section, and then I'll do the footer. As for here, you can still replicate the heading tag and the paragraph tag to have this. So I'm proceeding with this. So we have another H1 tag that will have the information educational. Then we have a paragraph tag. So we have an image on the other side. So we have to actually do that. So what it means that after the H1 tag, you see that as I write my code, I write it from top to down because the browser reads the code line by line. So if I want an image to come after the H1 tag, I have to put the image here. And as you know, the image is what IMG. So I'm going to refer to this particular image, my pic.jpg. And I want to set the width to 200 pixels and the height to 250 pixels. Okay. All right, so at this stage, I will just go and open the website that we have just written code for, which is this, so that we'll see what is happening. So this is the basic structure of the website. All the code I wrote, you can see it here. Good, so now you can see that it's not yet looking exactly like this. That is because we have to introduce CSS. You know, I mentioned earlier that CSS is used for styling. So we have to introduce styling into this work. So let's look at how we can introduce what styling. Now, I'll just give you a basic understanding of CSS. First of all, if you want to introduce CSS into your work, you have to come to the header tag here, in between the header tag. In fact, we have several methods of introducing CSS in your work. Okay. Okay, sorry. I think I have to share my whole screen, not the editor. So, share my whole screen. Okay, the entire screen is being shared now. So I opened the page that we have written. This is the code that we have just written. You can see it. And I'm saying that it's not looking exactly like this. That is because this website is a combination of HTML and CSS to bring in styling. So let's look at how we can bring in styling into this work. To bring in styling, first of all, you have to what? Come in between your header tag, the opening and the closing. And then you introduce a what? A tag called the style tag, like this. You see that? This is the opening and the closing. So in between here, every style you want to do, you want to be applied to your work, you write it here. So if you put your styling this way, this is actually one way of styling. We call it the what? The embedded styling method. We have the external styling method, whereby you have a separate CSS file, and then you link it to this document. Or we have the inline styling, whereby you put the style directly on a tag. So, but this method is what we call the embedded. So how do you bring a style? First of all, to be able to style your elements, you have to what? You have to select the element. You have to what? Select the element before you can then start applying certain things or certain styles to it. Good. So let's say we want to select an H1. We want to style what? This text, all H1 text, we want to style it. Okay, all H1 text, we want to style it. How do we do that? We will come here and say H1. Then we'll put a curly braces. This is a curly braces. It's not a bracket. It's not the normal brackets we know. It's called curly braces. And if you check your keyboard well, you'll find it. So you have to first of all put in the name of the tag, and then you put the curly braces. Then in CSS, we have attributes. Unlike in HTML, where we say we have tags, in CSS, we have attributes. So an attribute will have a value. So for example, color. Color, if I say color, C-O-L-O-R, after the attribute, you have to bring this dots here. Then the next after the dot will be the value. So if I want to change color of an H1 tag, I will say color. Then I'll put the value. What value is the color? I want the color to be maybe red. Okay, so red here is the value, and color here is the attribute. What is differentiating them, or what will divide them, is this dots here. When you are done with a property, what do you call it? A property and a value, then you what? Put a semicolon here like this. So let's see what is the effect of this on H1 tags. So I'll refresh my page, and you can see all H1 tags in my work have changed to have the what? The red color. This is because of the CSS style I defined here. Now, not only that, I want the text aligned. So these things that I'm mentioning, they are not cooked by me. They are in a kind of a document for CSS. So we have several CSS properties. If you want to color a text, then you use the color property, and then the value can be any color you want. Now we want to center this text. So to do that, we have a property called text align, and then the value will be what? Center. The value can be top, can be a lot of things, okay? But we are using center. So let's see what this does. I'll refresh, and you can see that all H1 tags have been what? Centered, right? Good. Okay, so as I was saying that I want us to follow this particular slide styling, but then you realize that it's only this particular H1 tag that is what? Being brought to the center. So I have to find a way. How can I select only this particular H1 tag without having to select all the other H1s? Like I want only this one to remain centered. The rest of them, I don't want them to remain centered. How do I do that? Yes, so there's a way to do this. Now, when I come to my code, this H1 tag and this paragraph tag and this list, they are all what we see at the top here. And I want only them to be centered. So I have to group them. I have to what? I have to group them. So I can do this by grouping them in a container called a div. So I'm just going to copy, and then I'll cut it, Control X. Then I'll bring in a div. We have a tag called div tag. It's just an empty tag or a kind of a container. So in between my div tag, I'll paste what? The codes, okay, for the top here. Then in CSS, we have a method of selecting called class. So inside my div, I'll say class, and this class, I'll give it a name that will be what? Attributable to it. So the name I'm going to give this class is maybe my intro. I'm going to say intro text. And this intro text can be anything that you want. It's just a name. So now, instead of selecting H1, I'll just clean this code and come and say what dot intro text, then I'll do curly braces. Remember, if you are selecting a tag, you can just write the tag's name. But if you are selecting a class, then you do intro text. So I'm going to say intro text. Then I'll say text align, meaning every text that is within this div class, I want to align the text to center. So let's see what happens here. So you can see that every text that is within the div that has the class intro is centered, but all the other text headings here are what? As they are supposed to be. So that is what we call grouping. So I've grouped them inside here, right? Good. So the next thing too is that this particular list items, I want them to display like this. The property used to display this list in this manner, we will look at that shortly. So let's do that. Now you know that this OL is inside this, but then I can simply go direct to say what? This is the only list I have in my work, right? So I'll just say, I'll select OL. Remember all this, I'm within my styling tag. All your styling text should be in between this and that. Don't forget that. I'll have OL, and then I'll have LI, OL here, LI here. So I'm basically saying that the list, I'm selecting the lists inside the ordered list. Then I'll put my curly braces. Then I'll apply my CSS. We have a property called display and a value called what? Inline. So if you want to display inline, you do this. So when I say display inline, you can see that it has collapsed the list into this format. It has collapsed the list into this format. Now, there is some kind of spacing in between here, you know, and then also they are all in capital letters. How do we achieve that? There's also another property. We have a property called text decoration. No, text transform. Text transform. Then I'll say uppercase, meaning you want CSS to transform the text to what? Uppercase letters, even though you originally wrote it in what? Lowercase. So when I say uppercase and I refresh, you can see that the texts are now in caps. Now I want to talk about a concept called padding and margin. Padding and margin. So to be able to demonstrate that, let me see if I can pull my whiteboard. There's no. Okay. Basically, margin and padding talks about spacing in between every element. So let's say I want to bring in spacing for every list element. I want to space it. So in this case, I'm going to use padding. I'll come here and say what? Inside my CSS style, I'll say padding. We have padding top, padding left, padding bottom, padding right. So it's basically the spacing. Either if you want the spacing from the top, that's spacing from the top of this list item, that's top here, or spacing from the bottom, or spacing from the right, or spacing from the left, or you want to put space all around it. In our case, we are going to put spacing all around it. So I will just say padding, but you can see there are options like padding left, padding top, padding bottom, padding right. I will just say padding, and then I'll say what? The value will be 10 pixels. Then when I refresh, you see that there is a significant spacing in between each item, each list item. So you can see we have successfully achieved this particular area. The next is this area. So as usual, we have to also group this area as well. We have to group it, this part, we have to group it using the div that we used earlier. So I'll come down here and then pick the two texts around it. I'll do Control X or just right click and say cut. And then I'll create a div. Remember, these divs are basically containers. They are containers. Then I'll paste back my code. And as usual, I have to give it a class called what? Maybe hero image.
Sorry to interrupt, Mr. Issa, but you've done an hour already, and I think you should try and wrap up with that since time is not really on our side.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Yeah, so let's quickly select the hero image. So because it's a class, we will have dot hero image. Now, first of all, I want to introduce a background image. Okay, this image you see here is a background image, so we have to introduce that. So background image, I'll say URL, and URL here I'll bring in the what? The name of the picture that I want to put in here. So I'll say team.jpeg like this, right? Good. Now, let me just refresh so that you see the effect of it. Okay, you can see that the effect is showing. You can see some kind of a picture in the background, but because this space is not big enough, so to do that, I have to specify a property called min height. That's minimum height, and then I'll give it a minimum height of maybe 600 pixels. You see that after every property, I put a semicolon at the end. Take note of that. So I'm going to expand this space, and you can see now the image has expanded. And you can see the image has distorted by kind of repetition. So we have something called background. We have a property called background size with a value cover. So if I do the background size with a value cover, this fits well. Now I want some kind of darkness to be in the background. So to do that, I will just say, I'll introduce what we call RGB. RGB. Yeah. So this RGB takes 4 values. 0, 0. The last one, you can make it 0.5. I need another one too like this. Now this RGB is basically, this color will give us a transparent black, but I need to put it inside a property called linear gradient. Then I'll have it like this with a comma here. Then I refresh. You can see some darkness on the image. So now I can proceed to change the color of this text from black to white. The property for that is color, so just say color and then you write white. You see that? Then I'll align it to the center by saying text align. So these properties only affects the grouping of this div class. It only affects whatever is here and none other. So text align center, save, refresh. You can see the text in the center. Now I want this whole thing to come in the middle. To do that, I will just introduce some few properties, that is display flex. And then you say justify content, then you say center. Okay, this isn't working that much. Display flex. Okay, so at least let me proceed to the next section. Let me proceed to the next section here. So here we want this image and this text to have this kind of behavior. Okay, the text should be on the left. There's a CSS property called float. Since this is the only image in our work, I can just go to my CSS style here and say img, that's image tag, and I'll say float what? Left. Float is a property and left is the value. So when I save, you can see that the image has been floated to the left and then the text has been brought up. But I'll need some spacing around here. So to do that, I'll just give a margin. I'll say margin right, margin on the right hand side. That's spacing on the right hand side. Margin right 15 pixels. Yeah, so you can see a spacing from here, right? Good. So the last thing we will just do before I wrap up is the footer area here. In fact, you can just use the same concept that I've done to do the other sections. So I'll just introduce the footer and then we would end the session for questions. So when I come here to the last paragraph, the next thing is the footer. There's a tag specifically for footer. Then I'll put any information, maybe built by Odessa. So let me refresh this footer. You can see this footer is right on top here. Yes. So we are going to introduce a particular class called container to bring in some uniformity into our work. So with this class called container, we'll give it a width of 80%, a width of 80%, and then we will give a margin auto, and then we will set another property called overflow. We say overflow should be hidden. Now we are going to make sure that this particular container is being introduced in our classes here. So inside here, I can refer to container as well. And this whole educational background section can also be grouped into a div. With a class called container, like this. Okay, so let me refresh. Yeah. So the container shouldn't be in the hero image. So I'm removing that. Now we need to clear in some default margin and padding body. That usually comes with the body tag by default. So I'll set the padding to be 0 pixels and margin to also be 0 pixels, like this. Yeah, so you see our work is gradually looking similar. Then finally is this our footer here. So let's style our footer and then we will be done for the next session. So this is our footer here with this information. So let me come down here. Because footer is just a tag, so I'll just say footer. There's no need to bring a dot. It's a tag. Text align, center, background color, tomato. There's a color called tomato, and then color alone is just for the text, so color should be white. And let me refresh this. You can see both by Modesty is in white, and the whole background here is what? Tomato. So I want some spacing from the inside, so I have to introduce what? A padding. So I will say padding of maybe 15 pixels won't be bad. When I refresh, you can see this, some kind of spacing. So I think we have done a lot, and at least we have been able to achieve a very basic right? you rewatch this 1 or 2 times, you'll be in your image. Back to my not cover forever.
I think Mr. Modersi was just about wrapping up, and we will take it over from here. Thank you so much, Mr. Modersi, for this wonderful and educative presentation. Please, if you have any questions, don't forget to type it in the comments section. And without wasting more time, I would like to hand over to the second presenter.
Okay, moderator, I'm back.
Welcome back.
Yes, I was just wrapping up, and
yes,
yes, let me just say I'm done with my session. If there are any questions, just hand over to you to proceed there.
Okay. So please, if you have any questions, don't forget to type it in the comment section. And without wasting more time, I would like to hand over to the second presenter, who is Dr. Ibrahim Osman Adam, who also provides